Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman and his wife were found dead in their New Mexico home on Wednesday. Foul play is not suspected. However, authorities did not release any details of the circumstances of their deaths and said an investigation is ongoing. A spokesperson for the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said deputies responded to a requested ill welfare check at the home on Wednesday around 1:45 local time and found Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and a dog dead. Hackman, who was 95, was one of the industry's most respected and honoured performers.
Gene Hackman receives his Oscar from Liza Minnelli.
Get off the bar and get on the wall!
His dozens of films included Oscar-winning roles in The French Connection and Unforgiven, and he had a breakout performance in Bonnie and Clyde.
It's a make-believe world, and as I say, it's what I wanted to do as a child, and I fulfilled a lot of my
The student from Cuba noticed that a pride flag was covering his country's flag, and he wasn't having it.
I want this! Hurry the f*** up!
Educators are taking the U.S. Department of Education to court. The American Federation of Teachers is challenging the agency's Dear Colleague letter, which threatens schools with loss of funding if they don't shut down diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and teachings. On February 14th, the Education Department's Civil Rights Office sent a letter to schools nationwide, clarifying discrimination based on race, color, or national origin is illegal under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This means schools from elementary to college cannot use race as a factor in admissions, financial aid, or hiring. The letter cited Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard, a Supreme Court case in 2023 which ruled universities cannot solely use race as a factor in admission decisions. In response, the AFT said they're suing Trump's education department to protect the classroom. The plaintiffs include the AFT, its Maryland Union, and the American Sociological Association. Court documents filed on Tuesday argue education is a gateway to opportunity, a truth supported by American history, from the desegregation of schools to ensuring children with disabilities have a place to learn. The Democracy Forward Foundation is representing the group, an organization also behind other lawsuits against the Trump administration. The letter further restricts what students can learn, including teaching that the U.S. is built on systemic and structural racism. AFT's president calls the letter unconstitutionally vague and a grave attack on students and educators, making it impossible to teach history without acknowledging racism, saying it would ban meaningful instruction on slavery, the Missouri Compromise, the Emancipation Proclamation, the forced relocation of Native American tribes, the laws of Jim Crow, Brown versus Board of Education, the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, and the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. When President Trump took office, he started chipping away at DEI, signing an executive order to end government support for these programs, including federal grants and funding. The administration later argued the directives only targeted initiatives that violated civil rights laws. The Department of Education gave schools until February 28 to comply or face funding cuts, investigations, or litigation. Court documents say the plaintiffs want a federal judge to declare the letter unlawful and issue an injunction to prevent educators from enforcing it.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins released a 5-point plan to bring down egg prices that largely seeks to stop the spread of the highly contagious avian flu. The program will cost $1 billion and, according to Rollins, will be paid for with DOGE savings. First step, provide $500 million for biosecurity measures at farms. Number 2, provide $400 million in financial relief for farmers whose flocks are affected. Number 3, research on vaccines and therapeutics. Number 4, reducing regulations for commercial farmers and making it easier for families to raise their own. And number 5, importing more eggs that meet U.S. standards. Since 2022, approximately 166 million birds have been affected.
Mostly it comes from wildfowl that fly over or get into the barns. So USDA will be producing at no charge an audit to every single egg farmer in this country, and then we will help them secure their barns.
The USDA will pay up to 75% of the cost to fix biosecurity vulnerabilities at barns. They started a pilot program in 2020. 2023 and have so far fixed 150 barns. And since that time, only one of them has had a flu outbreak.
We're going to work to move much more quickly on repopulating the 160 million birds that have been culled in just the last few months. So what do we need to do to get regulations out of the way to help indemnify these poultry producers to start repopulating much more quickly than we've been doing?
Egg prices have increased 157% since January 2021, when the average price per dozen was $1.92 compared to $4.95 a dozen this January. The Agriculture Department predicts egg prices will increase by another 41% in 2025.
The United States has now marked its first measles death in a decade. A school-aged child in Lubbock, Texas, who was not vaccinated, died after being hospitalized with the virus. The death is part of a bigger outbreak, which now has 124 confirmed cases, most of them in children who are unvaccinated. Texas health officials say 18 people have been hospitalized. As Straight Arrow News has previously reported, there has been an outbreak in a West Texas Mennonite community near the New Mexico state line, where many people lack access to medical care. During yesterday's cabinet meeting, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appeared to downplay the severity of the outbreak.
Watching it, we put out a post on it yesterday, and we're going to continue to follow it. Incidentally, there have been 4 measles outbreaks this year. In this country last year, there were 16. So it's not unusual. We have measles outbreaks every year.
Kennedy has a long history of dismissing the threat of measles and has questioned the effectiveness of vaccines. The CDC says measles was declared eradicated in the United States in 2000 thanks to its vaccination program. However, vaccination rates for the MMR vaccine have dropped slightly in recent years.
Coming back to this underserved region, and this is where home is for me, I really wanted to make sure that we comply with the law, and I didn't want it to put in jeopardy our medical license and the care that I provide to a lot of other children with other conditions. I was always respectful of the law, and I will continue to do it. I'm gonna demonstrate what I'm being accused of that is not true. I deny the allegations because we didn't provide any more transgender care after September the 1st.
Putting a ban on trans youth doesn't mean that the youth cease to exist. It just means that they're hiding. The gender-affirming care that he provided is just a small fragment, and losing a pediatric endocrinologist in the city would absolutely devastate our pediatric patients in the city.
Looking at the patients was hard because they were kind of disappointed of what was going on, but it was something that needed to be followed because it's the law. 3 clinics, and we have our other.
And I've made it official, an official policy of the United States, that there are only 2 genders, male and female. And we will have no men participating in women's sports, and transgender operations, which became the rage, will occur very rarely.
We're just people, and besides something as being trans, we're just normal people too.
Diabetics. When I came to El Paso, I started getting referrals, and the referrals came for gender dysphoria. And because I was trained on how to do it, well, you accept those patients and you start treating that problem.
There's a measles outbreak in Texas at the moment in which a child is reported to have died. Do you have concerns about that, and have you asked Secretary Kennedy to look into that?
Well, why don't we, Bobby, do you want to speak on that? We are following the measles epidemic every day. I think there's 124 people who have contracted measles at this point, mainly in Gaines County, Texas. Mainly, we're told, in the Mennonite community. There are 2 people who have died, but we're watching it, and there are about 20 people hospitalized, mainly for quarantine. We're watching it. We put out a post on it yesterday, and we're going to continue to follow it. Incidentally, there have been 4 measles outbreaks this year. In this country last year, there were 16. So it's not unusual. We have measles outbreaks every year.
The United Nations Humanitarian Office has warned of worsening famine conditions in Sudan amid an uptick in fighting in North Darfur region. It says nearly 2 years of conflict between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has inflicted immense suffering and turned parts of the country into a hellscape.
More than 12 million people displaced, including 3.4 million people who have fled across Sudan's borders. More than half of the country, 24.6 million people, experiencing acute hunger. A collapse of health services, millions of traumatized children cut off from formal education, relentless patterns of sexual violence. And in several parts of the country, the already catastrophic situation of civilians has also actually worsened since our last briefing to this council less than 1 month ago.
Despite widespread starvation and huge humanitarian needs, aid providers have suspended operations at Sudan's largest displacement camp, Zamzam, home to around 500,000 people because of intense fighting.
Monday, Médecins Sans Frontières, the main provider of health and nutrition services in Zamzam, announced that it has been forced to halt its operations in the camp due to the deteriorating security situation. The United Nations World Food Programme has also just confirmed suspension of voucher-based food assistance in the camp due to insecurity and the destruction of the market.
Orsanu urged the Security Council to take immediate action to ensure all actors abide by international humanitarian law and protect civilians in the camp and
experts,
beyond.
diplomats and journalists have called for urgent action on the persecution of minorities in Bangladesh. They raised the concerns at an event in Delhi that aimed to raise awareness and encourage discourse on the issue. The Vivekananda International Foundation hosted a panel discussion titled "The Never-Ending Persecution of Minorities in Bangladesh." The event also featured an exhibition highlighting the systemic discrimination and violence faced by religious and ethnic minorities in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has seen a rise in claims of targeted violence against minorities in recent days, specifically since the oust of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in August last year. The exhibition, curated by FACT Foundation Against Continuing Terrorism, showcased compelling visual documentations of human rights violations, forced displacements and attacks on religious minorities, including Hindus, Buddhists, Christians and Muslims in Bangladesh.
Through this exhibition, we would like to take it around to show people, awaken people to what is happening in our neighboring country, where the minorities, along with the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians, the Ahmadiyya Muslims, are also suffering. And the mainstream has somehow ignored this fact or said it's a hype, which we don't believe, because we met many young people from Bangladesh who are here, whose families are suffering.
The two powerful explosions in the Bukavu city in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have killed at least about 11 people and have injured 60 others. The blasts came moments after a meeting of the M23 armed group attended by one of its leaders, that is Corneille Nangaa. Witnesses say that the first explosion caused panic, sending people fleeing before a second blast shook the area. The President Felix Tshisekedi has condemned the attack as a heinous terrorist act. The Bukavu's Provincial General Hospital has confirmed 11 bodies were brought in, all arriving dead. The hospital is also treating about 60 victims who have sustained some serious injuries. All of this comes as the M23 rebels have tightened their grip on eastern DRC after taking control of Bukavu over a week ago and seizing Goma, the capital of North Kivu. The M23 that is backed by the Rwandan forces, according to UN reports, has been waging a relentless offensive since 2021 and is now expanding its control over the mineral-rich territories. The region has been plunged deeper into turmoil with no end to the conflict in sight.
The CBP One app used to allow migrants to fly on domestic flights without having formal identification. A new policy from the Trump administration is putting a stop to it. The TSA posted the changes on X, announcing the app will no longer be used to bypass typical security protocol for U.S. citizens of showing a valid ID. The app used to serve as migrants' ticket through, using immigration court documents stored within the app to verify who they are. At least 60,000 migrants have flown using the app. Many migrants look to travel by plane to reach sponsors or desired cities while awaiting the next step in their asylum process. Now the CBP One app has been updated and is called the CBP Go app. Under the new TSA directive, migrants without ID will only be allowed to board flights if the agency can confirm the travel is for self-deportation purposes. The local ABC affiliate in San Diego reported parts of its airport are empty, where 1 year ago it was filled with migrants sleeping on airport floors, awaiting flights out of the city paid for by migrant advocacy groups. Here's a local report from Fox 5 San Diego a year ago showing what conditions were like in its airport when migrants were using the CBP One app for air travel.
On Thursday, we saw a bus drop off dozens of migrants at Terminal 2 at the San Diego International Airport. Local organizations say hundreds of migrants have slept at the airport each night over the past week after crossing the U.S.-Mexico border and being processed by Border Patrol.
The Trump administration has argued this was a safety threat to allow migrants without valid IDs board domestic flights. But some immigration advocates are reacting differently to the TSA dropping the app as a means of identification. An immigration attorney said it's going to cause a lot of heartache and hardship for asylum seekers. This is going to put a burden on border cities that will now have to find alternate ways to help people transit to their destination cities. We reported on Tuesday that DHS shut down the CBP One app as a means of entry into the U.S., DHS saying it will now only serve to assist non-citizens in leaving the country.
President Donald Trump says he's got a golden way to get wealthy immigrants into the country.
You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship.
Trump says the gilded cards will allow foreigners who can afford the $5 million price tag to live and work in the U.S.
They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful.
But the idea isn't new to the U.S., and it's not unique to the U.S. I'll explain. Golden visas are often bought by citizens of countries like China and Russia who want to relocate to places like Western Europe. Also known as resident by investment, these special visas provide temporary or permanent residency in the nation of choice. The investment could include starting a business, making a donation, or simply buying property in the desired location. Many countries don't require full-time residency to obtain a golden visa. The week President Trump won the 2024 election, American interest in golden visas abroad picked up. Immigration firm Henley & Partners told Bloomberg American inquiries quadrupled from the week before. And some countries go beyond residency to citizenship by investment. Securing citizenship in an EU member state like Malta could get you the Golden Passport, which allows you to travel and work in any of the bloc's member nations. Despite Trump saying his plan would provide a path to citizenship, it comes with limitations.
Do you need Congress for this? Do you think you need
No, we don't need Congress, no, because we're not doing citizenship, we're doing the card.
I see.
It's a path to citizenship, a very strong path to citizenship, but we're not doing the citizenship. For that, I'd have to get Congress.
Trump's vision would replace the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program. Congress first created the program in 1990 to stimulate the U.S. economy through job creation and capital investment by foreign investors. It grants green cards to investors and their families who make necessary investments in the U.S. and create full-time American jobs. If those investors target a higher unemployment area, the minimum investment is $900,000. Outside of the targeted employment area, the minimum investment doubles to $1.8 million. The Trump administration sees flaws with how the program works today.
So the EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card.
The Congressional Research Service says compared to other immigrant visas, EB-5 faces additional risks of fraud, particularly in verifying the investment funds are obtained legally. It's unclear if Trump's $5 million version would come in the form of an investment like EB-5 or a direct payment. As for who could be eligible for the gold card, money can only get immigrants so far. Trump says recipients will be fully vetted.
Depends. The countries largely, the people will be vetted very carefully.
A Russian oligarch be eligible for a gold card?
Yeah, possibly. Hey, I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people. It's possible. They're not quite as wealthy as they used to be. They're not as wealthy as they used to be. I think they can afford $5 million.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says it will be used to pay down deficits.
Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
The program would be one of the most expensive golden visas in the world. New Zealand and Singapore command more than Trump's proposed amount, while the popular Malta visa only costs around $630,000. The president says he plans to move fast on the gold card. He says they'll start selling them in 2 weeks.
Nearly 120 people were arrested this week during a massive raid at a large Houston area housing development community known as Colony Ridge, according to U.S. immigration officials. President Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, said the effort was part of a larger operation.
It's a larger criminal investigation into a network, and a lot of the people we're interested in were located in that area.
Homan also said some of the migrants were apprehended at work sites, while others were arrested during traffic stops, and some had open warrants.
Know for a fact there were several sexual predators, child predators that were arrested for sexual misconduct with a child. There are several of them. I know there's one that was convicted of either homicide or murder.
Authorities did not release the identities of all 118 people they arrested, though they did highlight some individuals. An ICE spokesperson in Houston said one of those arrested has been deported 3 times and was arrested on a warrant for repeated sexual abuse of a minor from November 2008 to November 2016. ICE also says authorities arrested an MS-13 gang member who had previously been deported in connection with a murder. The agency revealed various charges and convictions associated with those who were arrested, including child sexual abuse, homicide, negligent manslaughter, theft, weapons, and drug offenses. Texas Governor Greg Abbott first revealed ICE operations at Colony Ridge Monday in a social media post saying authorities were targeting criminals and illegal immigrants, adding he, quote, worked with Tom Homan on this for months. Immigration rights advocates condemned the raid as a, quote, wave of terror directed at the Colony Ridge communities by the governor. And one resident said the heavy police presence made them and their family fearful. Colony Ridge has been a flashpoint for the immigration debate, drawing criticism from Texas Republicans and conservative activists over accusations of selling land to undocumented immigrants. Critics also say the area is plagued with cartel crime, a claim refuted by local and state police.
Dozens of diplomats walked out of a Russian speech at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, marking 3 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Ambassadors from France, Germany, and Britain led the protest in solidarity with Ukraine, calling for a just and lasting peace. France's ambassador, Jérôme Bonifant, warned that failing to respond to Russia's actions would undermine the UN's founding principles. Britain's ambassador to the UN, Simon Manley, said Ukraine must be part of any negotiations. Inside the chamber, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Vershinin accused Ukraine of flagrant human rights violations and promoting Russophobia. Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister, Mariana Betsa, responded, saying aggression must be punished, and warned against any talks that exclude Kyiv. The diplomatic standoff comes as Russia continues pushing back against Ukraine's Western ties. Moscow's foreign ministry warned that Ukraine's potential NATO membership would cause an uncontrollable escalation with severe global security consequences. The statement follows Ukrainian President Zelensky's remarks that if NATO membership remains blocked, Ukraine may seek to form its own military alliance. The UN Security Council recently passed a U.S. drafted resolution taking a neutral stance on the conflict, reflecting President Trump's shift in U.S. policy toward a more conciliatory approach to Russia. At the same time, Russia claims increasing politicization and confrontation within the UN Human Rights Council are undermining its mission, accusing some nations of using it for geopolitical purposes.
All right, Shalom, Asherallah, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachak, Wadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, whomever you may be, wherever you may be. Shalom, Yasharallah, Shalom. All right, it's been a while, but we're going to do another world news with commentary. And there's quite a few things that we can talk about in this session here. As a matter of fact, I'll mention one thing because I've been noticing a great, or not say great, but here and there, an uptick of different, news, clippings and things of that nature dealing with animals, around the world and pretty much how they're being oppressed. As a matter of fact, let me get that. Is that Isaiah 14? Because even the animals are sad, man. They're all beat up. They're all run down from the earth. The land animals to the air animals to the sea animals, man. They're all jacked up, and it's all because of who's in power. And bear with me because I didn't bring my glasses. I got this broken set here. We just had to rock with those. Bear with me. So yeah, all right. Let me get down here. So we'll start at verse 6. It says, "He who smote the people in wrath will continue." Now, mind you, I don't have any of those animal clips here. Like I said, I see them pop up from time to time, but I never put them in my world news. I may start to incorporate because you see, different things going on with animals as well, not just the people of the earth. And the animals are the Lord's creation, all right? And we love the Lord's creation, everything, okay? So it says, "He who smote the people in wrath with the continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindered." What are we talking about? We're talking about Esau, Edom. All right, stemming from America, which stems back to the banking families because they run America from back east, okay? The president is just a puppet. He's the face of the circus. But the true circus act, like the Wizard of Oz movie, they're behind the curtains. They never get seen. That's the banking families. It says the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth in singing. Why is this? Because the wicked have been taken out of the way, like it says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Only he now who let it until he be taken out of the way. He's talking about the wicked, which are the Edomites, man. Stemming back to the banking families. Because not every Edomite is the ruler of the earth. They're all Edomites, but the rulers of the earth are a particular, sect or a particular group of Edomites, all right, known as the banking families, all right. And then you also have the Amalekites, which are the Israelis. You throw them in there too. So it says, "Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee." And that's another thing to mention, even just when you talk about vegetation and plant life, all right, and which we from time to time we often spring forth and start talking about plants, right? But it's just it's a natural thing I do, talk about plants from time to time. But yeah, even just not just the creatures, the humans, the animals, and the fowls of the air and things of that nature, trees and things of that nature, because they have to live on the earth as well. The trees have roots that plant. Like if we could pull up a tree from the ground, you'd be surprised. The roots will be way, way larger than the tree that you see above ground, all right? Because the roots spread out, they plant deep. You even see sometimes where it looks like trees are walking. That's the tree and its roots moving, okay? Trees don't really walk like the Lord of the Rings, but their roots can it's random, it's very rare, but you can see a tree move, all right? Well, we'll move from one location to another. That's its roots underneath the earth, moving to a better location, or even probably moving closer to another tree. Who knows? But yeah, plants, they plant their roots in the soil because there's water deep, get the nutrients, the minerals, and all these different things from the photosynthesis process. And then we also spoke about the animals, because everything has to live here on the earth. And the earth is jacked up because of the banking families, because how they're ruling the earth. So it says, "Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fellows come against us. Hailed from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirred up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. He hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. Moving, towards World War III, bring this place down. All right, because America will be destroyed in World War III. There's no saving this place. I guess we could read through it. I really wanted to go through all of it. I just wanted to make a point. It really, because that point was more so dealing with plants and things of that nature. Even though my topic of point was animals. Let's do this. Let's jump down here and get this. So it says, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble? All right, the men, all right, Edomites, which the banking families in particular, all right, because there's a lot of Edomites on the planet, but the ones that are in rulership in particular are those particular families, all right? Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? And the prisoners are talking about us Israelites, man, okay? Because all these different nations have a certain level of power in the earth, but the ultimate power lies with the Edomites. But we Israelites have zero power. Not only do we have zero power, but we've also been in captivity under all of these heathen nations, all right? So with that being said, just that was extra. I wasn't really planning to go into that, but I wanted to get to, and what sparked me to do, a commentary, a world news and commentary, is because one particular article, which is not a new new news clipping. It's just that the particular way that it was worded this time is really what caught my attention, going into Trump, because we posted about this recently, I believe. Now, I do remember the clip. So as a recent clip where there was this big meeting and Trump was there, and the clips where, Elon Musk stood up and talk and all that stuff, Trump asked him to talk. So that meeting there is where basically Trump was saying that, I think it was the EU? I forget, Slovakia, but I'll play the clip directly after this, just in case I was wrong about which one. I believe it was the EU, but saying that they have to fight for themselves. Okay, and this is what led me, and look, subheading, the doom of Babylon. All right. And we just talked about doom the other day, doom and gloom, right? Going into Revelation chapter 14, doom for worshipers of the beast. Now, this is doom for Babylon. We just talk about America, Babylon the Great, the West. All right. Spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Okay. So, and I want to jump down and, as a matter of fact, let's get a little bit of this because it'll just work right into it. So it says, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, America, that sitteth upon many waters, meaning these different nations, all right? Because there's a precept down below in 15. Let's get it real quick just to make the point. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, the whore being America, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, being the different countries, all right, that they pretty much rule over, all right, with strictness, okay? The hammer of the earth. And the scripture saying, Jeremiah, how have the hammer of the earth being cut asunder? Future prophecy, but we actually live in the time period where this prophecy is slowly being folded, right, with things that the Lord is carrying out, right? So we're speaking about something that's very prophetic here. So to continue on, it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of fornication. Yeah, you got in bed with this great whore, and your society has come up. It's your cash cow. Yeah, you all played a hand in lying to and beating down and treating and stereotyping, all right, and bywording the Israelites while you've all lived, in glory. Zechariah, is it 1:15? All right, I'm sorely displeased with the heathens round about at ease. Just paraphrasing, okay? Because I was a little displeased at my people, so I gave them to your hand, but you helped forward the affliction. So all of you nations have been, jolly, and us Israelites have been getting worn down, like it says in Daniel 7. They shall wear out the saints of the Most High, right? So, and this, mind you, this is John, in the spirit, all right, on the Lord's day, seeing different visions of scenes in heaven, scenes of the future, and things of that nature, right? With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, which pairs up with Habakkuk 2. All right, transgressed by wine. I wonder if it's a precept. We're not going to read it. Just going to trying to make this brief as possible, because I know it takes a long time to convert these videos, or especially when I'm adding, a recorded video to it. So you won't get this until later, but you will most definitely get it today. So yeah, but that, and Habakkuk wasn't there, so let's just get it anyways. Say that. It's all what the Spirit wants, huh? Let's get it. Habakkuk 2:5. Yeah, also because he transgresses by wine. You have to understand that this wine is not talking about drink or, wine, actually, like it says, or strong drink, liquor or whatever. This wine is actually talking about its ways, all right? Its life, its policies, its way of thinking, governing yourselves, and so on and so forth. All this, wickedness that has stemmed from America and spread around the earth into different nations. Like a quick topic, those chicks with the hijabs and stuff. You got chicks all across seas who were never getting out of line with their men before because of America. Because America, what they'll do is they'll plant a woman over there, all right, and come out and protest or whatever. Then it gets the other women riled up, and now you took this plant that you planted and riled up the actual women of the nation, and now they're all got their skirts flying up, talking about we ain't wearing our hijabs, we ain't doing this and that, being rebellious to their men. That all came from America, okay? And there's many other topics. I was just using that as one, and that actually is a very good topic because that's part of the wine. Women out of line with their men because the man is the head. That's not an Israelite thing. That's a man thing. That's the way that the Lord set up order, period. Regardless of the nation, a man is the head, regardless of the nation. Okay, it just becomes very, very important when you're dealing with the Israelite man, all right? Because that's the structure to our households. As the apostle always talks about Big Shirley, which, there's a funny aspect to it, but it's very, very serious what he speaks about, okay? Because we're talking about a mindset of an individual and her duplicating herself, all right? So it says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, not to keep it at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell. And hell is the grave, and is as death. That's why they both are mentioned here, because they're synonymous. Hell and grave, death are both synonymous. All right? And you can never fill up. There's never enough graves to be filled up. There's always space on this earth for graves, for people to go into them. All right? Like the one movie, Paid in Full, Ninjas Die Every Day, B. Okay? There's always graves. There's always funerals going on. Even though you may not see one in the course of your day, but you got to figure out how many people are on this planet. There's always funerals happening. Okay. And so they're likening his desire, his wants for things as the grave, because you can never fill up the grave. All right. And cannot be satisfied. That's just sum it up for you. But gathered unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. And how is he going to try to achieve that? Through his microchipping system. All right. Connecting you to the CBDC, coming online with the UBI, the social credit score system, the what was the other one? Their brain see hips, their augmented, their virtual reality and those things of that nature. And there was one more I forgot, because these different things, these terms there. Okay. Well, yeah, all this is part of his system, his new world order, his enterprise. All right. This dystopian future that he wants for the nations, and which is why he's going to reset this grid. Let's read on. Shall not all these take up a parable against them, and a taunting proverb against them, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? Because Esau is what? A vagabond and a fugitive in this earth. So everything he's gained, which it plays in a little bit on the blessing of Genesis 27, but everything that he's gained and has under possession of himself, it was what he's taken from other nations, even down to mineral resources and things of that nature. He even has human resources because it's his kingdom as of now, right? It's his time to rule. And he views the people as slaves, and he wants to think to set up his system to enslave all humanity forever. Like the Lord just ain't real. Like the Lord just going to sit back and say, damn, Esau, such a great plan you have there. Talking like Yoda or something. He's just going to allow them. Like, come on, man. These people are crazy. But that's why the scriptures say it is in their inward thoughts that their houses shall continue forever. In their inward thoughts, not in the thoughts of the Lord. That's not part of his will. His will is to bring them down. All right. So it says woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with them. And speaking of that, and who increases that which is not his, it says in the Apocrypha, for riches gotten by deceit or something like that. Paraphrasing, the kingdom shall be translated from one people to another. right, from these Edomites, because they're the ones in power right now, according to prophecy, to the Israelites under Yahweh Shah. And that's not going to be some smooth transition, because it says in Daniel 7 that the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. Okay, there's going to be bloodshed in this transition of power. It's not just going to be passed down, okay, damn, we're out of power, Yahweh Shah's in power now. Nope, hey, it's coming with bloodshed, all right, death and slaughter. That's how the kingdom is going to be risen back up, all right, the Israelites were talking about. And it says that laded himself with thick clay. And this word thick clay goes into the Hebrew word ibat yat, which means debt or heavy debt. And that's part reason why he wants to reset the grid, all right? Which part reason, small reason, really is to put his digital system online. But a debt is part of that system, because that's also going to be used to woo the people into their new system, into their technology, all right? Everybody's debt is white clean. You still have your bank account, but, you know, in order to access your funds now, we need to chip your body up so you can access your funds. And that's the trap. Because once you've done this, there's no coming back from that. And a lot of people here in America and around the earth are going to die because they're not aware of the system. All right. Which stems back to even being an Israelite, because there's no protection for heathens. If there's no protection for 2/3 of the Israelites, there's definitely no protection for the heathens, because the heathens are not the Lord's people. Right? It's only for Israelites, and that's the remnant of the nation of Israel to have that hedge of protection. That's what we pray for, man. Lord, take not his Holy Spirit from us, and then we have that hedge of protection as mentioned in the book of Job, right? So yeah, this the thick clay goes into Ibat, which is debt. So they're probably going to pull an EMP strike attack or whatever. When the system comes back online, they're going to be ready to roll out that digital system. No more paper currency. Everything's going to be going cashless, all right? So let's keep going, because there's more that you can read from Habakkuk, but I don't want to stray too far off of my point here, because the Spirit has already moved us already. So it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. So you should have a better understanding of what this means in Revelation chapter 17 when it talks about wine of a fornication. It's not talking about getting drunk and doing something you don't remember. All right, you just slept with some other man's wife, or you did something stupid and you don't remember, because that's what happens a lot of time with drunk people. They wake up, don't remember what they did, and then even furthermore, they have hangovers and things like that. That's not what it's talking about. All right, that is a physical thing, but that's not what these scriptures are talking about. All right, we just explained that. All right, and Lord willing, as we continue moving, because we're almost done with the book of Exodus, but the Spirit is on me. I want to go back into the books of Revelation. Super prophetic books there. So if the Spirit allows, we will be going back into the book of Revelation, which I've already done chapter 1, but that was off the Spirit. It was just on me one morning when I woke up. But if the Spirit allows me to go into those chapters again, I'll repost chapter 1. All right, very edifying. All right, if you care to listen, and then we'll roll on with chapter 2, which we'll probably do in increments, because there's a lot of back history dealing with those different churches there, and things that we can learn from that, that pertains to us today. So we'll do that, the chapters 2 and 3, dealing with those churches in increments. All right, if the Spirit allows. So look forward to that, if the Spirit allows. All right, we'll. But let's continue with this. So I want to jump down here, back on point with the not the article. I keep calling it an article, but I guess you could say it's a virtual article. A news clip is pretty much a virtual article, but the news clip there. So let's get this bottom portion here. So it says victory for the Lamb. All right, so this also pairs up with a couple scriptures in Revelation chapter 12, where it talks about Michael and his angels fought. All right, let's get it real quick. All right. And Lord, will you be edified by this? Like I said, I know it's going to be a while for me to be able to fully convert this video, being, what we're using. We got quite a few news clips, and then you have this added. So you'll get it sometime before, the night's out. But you will get it. So here it is, Revelation chapter 12, right? And this is the same thing. Notice this is the same thing from 17. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. If you understand the red dragon, the red goes back to Esau, identifying him from Revelation 6, from here we're reading now, in Deuteronomy chapter 25, his birth. All right, so you compare that up and point Esau out. Also with other different elements going to their characteristics over different chapters, Malachi, Psalm 73, different chapters like that can bring forth his character as well, Job 21, so on and so forth, all right? But if you understand the red is talking about the Edomites, all right, their empire. all right, which stems back even to ancient Rome, because those Romans were Edomites, as well as the Greeks. The Greeks were Edomites, okay? So it says, a great red dragon, so the empire of the Edomites, having 7 heads and 10 horns. That's the whole, what we have today as the NATO and the EU, all right? So it says, and 7 crowns upon his heads, and his tail drew the third part of the stars. The third part of the stars are talking about the Israelites, all right? We'll break that down if we end up going through the books. We'll eventually at some point get to Revelation chapter 17. We'll break that down further. Or if you can't wait, you can probably look it up. We've gone into it before. Other brothers have gone into it before as well, from the apostles on down to, the guys in the back like myself, right? So if you want further understanding on that, but we're not going to break it down now. It says, and did cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for it to devour her child as soon as it was born. All right, so the child is talking about Yahushua, pairing it with Matthew chapter 2. How Herod tried to put him to death. All right, but the red dragon is the empire of the Edomites, which we know those Herods were Edomites. Though they looked like Israelites, they were actually Edomites. And we know this empire, as we just mentioned, that great red dragon is the empire of the Edomites, stemming back to even ancient Rome, as we mentioned, also the Greeks. So getting down to the point, what we mentioned, and there was war in heaven. Where is it talking about? Above us. There's 3 heavens up above us, where you see the clouds in the blue sky. The second heaven, which is outer space, and the third heaven, which none of us can see. Even if we were floating in outer space, you can't see or get to the third heaven, because the third heaven is the spiritual realm. All right. As the scriptures say, heaven is my throne, the earth is my footstool. All right. The third heaven is where the Heavenly Father resides, and the angels are able to move between the third heaven into, the second or the first heaven as they will. All right. Perfect example, Jacob's ladder. When Jacob saw the vision, angels moving up and down. All right. So they were going in and out of the spiritual realm, from here back and forth to the earth. You see chariots, they're always on a mission. Whenever you see a chariot, they're on a mission from the Lord. So it says, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, you see, the empire of the Edomites. Notice how I was talking about ancient, times. And then also, we're talking about, all of a sudden, we're talking about the future times, but it's talking about still the same red dragon. Why is that? We read it often. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7 is talking about ancient Rome, and verse 8 talks about America. And if you read those scriptures back to back, verse 8 was an extension of verse 7, which goes to show you that America is an extension of ancient Rome. And that's just one example in the scriptures linking them up. All right. America is the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. So this great red dragon is the empire of the Edomites, which are the so-called white people of the earth, stemming back to the banking families. Michael and his angels fought, right, and against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Those angels talk about his, his aircraft carriers, his choppers, his jets, and things of that nature that fly in the air. Those are his angels. Now, of course, also they have the ground army, sea army, or what they call it, the Navy. Also submarines, which is also, part of the Navy, what we consider as the Navy, excuse me. But yeah, his angels are those vehicles that fly in the air. Okay, so there's going to be war in heaven, meaning up above our, our heads in this atmosphere. All right, where even the angels are going to be here fighting, because it tells you that in Daniel chapter 12. All right, the time of trouble, a time of trouble known as Jacob's trouble is going to be so bad that eventually the archangel Michael is going to have to stand up and fight. And this is what we're reading about here. And he prevailed not, meaning Esau, because the last thing said was the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And this is a different heaven from the last scripture. This heaven is talking about being in power. All right. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, which stems them back, linking them up to Genesis, showing you that who was talking about when you're dealing with Cain, when you talk about Esau, when you talk about a serpent in the garden. This was all their lineage. Genesis 36, all their lineage, those dukes of Edom and so on and so forth. You see? And it says that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, which also pairs up with Revelation 20, right? He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with them. Their army was destroyed. It was taken down, right? They lost this battle, okay? Then you have the nations fighting over here in these shores, and eventually going to go back home to do what? Launch missiles on this place and burn it up with fire, as the scriptures have said. Now, with that being read, we can jump back to 17 and continue reading. Victory for the Lamb, right? These shall make war with the Lamb. All right, Yahweh Shah and the holy angels. So when it says Michael and his angels fought, it's not just going to be Michael popping up on his own and then the angels of heaven coming with him. No, Michael is the chief archangel under Yahweh Shah. So Yahweh Shah is truly the one that's popping up. Who is this that's coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Isaiah 63. And with him, though one of those chief archangels, Michael, is coming with other, angels as well. All right, other archangels, because we know there's 7 that are particularly mentioned in the Bible, but we only get about 4 of those names. Who the other 3 archangels are that are mentioned, we have no idea. We got Michael, we got Raphael, we got Gabriel, and Uriel. All right, I think Uriel is Awarya Allah, Gabriel Gabarya Allah, Michael Mayaka Allah, which is my name. I didn't want to fully take that name at first, but yeah, I eventually did. And then who's the last one we mentioned? Raphael. I always get his name wrong. I believe it's Rapaya Allah, something like that. I always get Raphael's name wrong. But yeah, those are the 4 archangels that we actually have. Those 7 are mentioned, just as the other 3 are not mentioned by name. Now, however, if there's other archangels, we have no idea. But we know there's at least 7 archangels. Now, other angels will come as the army of the Lord with Michael, with the rest of those archangels, because they're coming back with the Yahweh Shah. And that's this great battle here, all right? Things happening in the earth in Jacob's trouble. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome. We know the Lamb is Yahweh Shah, overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. So these are the remnants, beginning with the 144,000 men. They are not only called, but they're also chosen and faithful, because he that endured to the end, the same shall be saved. Loving not their lives to the death, offering the bodies as a living sacrifice, so on and so forth. There's actually many scriptures playing off of faith, right? So it says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, all the countries of the earth. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Going back to the clipping, almost called it an article again. Trump saying that they're going to have to fight for themselves. Now, this hasn't been fully solidified. Right as of right now, the Lord is allowing these left-hand spirits to put these words in his mouth to say these things, but they will eventually come into. We're actually watching a prophecy being fulfilled slowly over time. Like it says in Habakkuk, the vision is yet for an appointed time. That's the key thing, an appointed time. But the Lord has to make things transpire to lead up to those points, which is why we see these things happening the way they're happening, which is why we hear Trump acting the way he's acting, doing the things he's doing, and saying the things that he's saying, because the Lord is not just going to drop a bombshell. He's always given the warning, all right? Fair warning. He doesn't have to, but he always gives a fair warning. So these things are being worked up into where the allies of America are going to be against them. The state of Israel and America will have to fend for. Woo, beautiful. Just start about the other clip. Sometime, might have been last week. Netanyahu, all right, talking about they call America Big Satan and call the state of Israel Little Satan, and that we're not afraid, or something like that. He was saying, to fight alone. Why are they saying these things? That's those left-handed spirits, all right, those angels on the left-hand side getting into there, because angels play on the minds of the people. I think Daniel 4 has some examples of that, or in the books of Daniel, period. I can't remember if it was Daniel 4 exactly. All right, but Daniel has a couple examples of that. But these angels, Daniel, is it chapter 11, somewhere around there, 10 or 11, where it says the Prince of Persia and all this stuff like that. All right, those are angels behind the scene working on the minds of these kings and these rulers of the earth. And that's what's happening now. Netanyahu, Putin, Trump, and anyone else. These angels are behind the scene working on their minds. So that's why they're saying what they're saying, man. What do you mean? You're talking about your own allies here. Who's going to help you if your allies turn against you? Why is Trump talking about them fighting, them fending for themselves? Why is Netanyahu talking about the same thing? Netanyahu calling America Big Satan, state of Israel Little Satan, which we know those are not the real Israelites anyways. And they are little Satans, right? Those Israeli is nowhere in the Bible, but that shows you how stupid the people of the world are. You know why? Because they don't research what's in the Bible. They just take what's told to them at face value, man. Okay? That's what makes it, especially Americans, so stupid, because they just believe anything that they hear and not actually research, go into it. You see? So you have both of these leaders that are gonna, and it's beautiful how the Lord is setting this thing up, because America is the back pocket of the state of Israel. They're constantly funded. And nowhere in the scriptures does it say that the Israelites will be funded by anybody, helped by anybody, and this and that. No, we're going to be desolate in captivity and so on and so forth. All right. So this is what you see happening right here. Them two. All right. Because all Edomites anyways, which there's more Edomites than just them, but those two in particular, because it says the least of the flock shall draw them out. Who's the least of the flock? The Amalekites, which are the ones in the state of Israel. Drawing them out is talking about the Americans. To what? To World War III, where America will be destroyed, as well as the state of Israel. So you have them being slowly isolated from their allies, the NATO and the EU. And in particular, he was speaking of, if I'm correct, it was about the EU. So this is prophecy being fulfilled before our eyes, man. All right. And Apostle Sarge just not too long did a video talking about being occupied in prophecy, man. Okay. Now, I know a lot of my lessons are not always as prophetic. And, you know, when I go like to camp, like on the weekend anyways, I try to dig into certain things. You know, now in my Tuesday camp, the lesson might be random. And in my lessons throughout the week, they also may be random, mostly going into chapters and things of that nature. All right. That's just what I'm skilled at. But in the weekend, I try to, you know, hit more at things that are current. All right. And or you know, different topics there. All right. But that doesn't mean that I'm not occupied in prophecy. All right. Which is why we're posting the news constantly. We're posting news because we're doing what? We're looking into these things. We're looking into what's happening. What can we find if there's anything happening that's prophetic? And even if it's not, this thing may be interesting. That thing may be interesting. Or there's some judgment here. This is why I post the news. If you don't even watch my lessons, at least watch the news, all right? Because sometimes there's some heavy things happening. Sometimes it just shows some random news, all right? You never know. But that's why we're constantly looking to these things, man. So, yeah, that's very, very prophetic what we're talking about here. It says, let's read it again. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, because America will be ended. America will be ended in World War III by nuclear missiles. Thus said the Lord. And we're reading what the scriptures say of that particular topic. Verse 17, it says, for the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beasts. All right. The system that is set up in play, that the banking families have headed from America, because they're definitely not here, because they know America is going to be destroyed. They are not here. If they have some families here, then they either don't care about them, or they think they're going to get away, or a bunker is going to save them, whatever. All right. If you got any family members of the banking families here, they will be destroyed here in America. All right. But the main players, none of them are here. None of the main players are here. I don't think they ever even visit this place. Why would anybody want to visit this place? They're not here. They're back east. Okay. Living over different places, Europe, London, France, all those different places like that. All right. Hiding from public eye because they're cowards, man. Like Esau has always been, a fugitive and a vagabond, crying, searching for their birthright back. All right. Crybaby cowards hiding from justice. For the Most High hath put it in their hearts, and they're terrified because they hear things like that being spoken. The Israelites are back on their feet. The Israelites know who they are again. You see? They're terrified, and the scriptures say that, man. Okay? Shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. The word is out. You see? They're terrified, man. For the Most High hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree. And this is why you keep seeing Trump and Putin having all these meetings about talking. Hey, Ukraine is very, very pivotal, man. If Ukraine joins the NATO fully, he will automatically be pretty much inducted into the Article 5, which Article 5 states that an attack on one of us is attack on all of us, meaning they're allies. So if you attack one NATO ally, you attack all the allies, which means we're all going to come to whoop some ass. So what happens if NATO joins? Someone's going to have to stand up for NATO against Russia. And Russia has China and India, all right, which those are huge numbers already. But then other nations, you got the core of the BRICS alone: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the plus. nations that have either applied or already joined up with the BRICS core members. Then you got Ezekiel 38, other members who pretty much, other members. If it hasn't even happened yet, doesn't really matter. It's going to happen because that's prophetic. All right, the other nations that are going to join up, and it says for Russia to be what? A guard unto them. So this is all very, very prophetic, leading up to the third woe, man, World War III. All right. It says, for the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled, which ultimately what? The destruction of the state of Israel and the destruction of America. Now, the state of Israel will be wiped clean, but it will be built up because that's our land. We're going to build back up there, and we're going to have the heathens do that for us. But America will be completely destroyed, not just decimated, completely destroyed, and nothing's going to be here after the fire dies out except for a desert, a huge desert. All right. If ever there's another map, like you have maps today, if there was another world map made, it would have America up there as a complete desert. The whole America now that you would see green all over, that whole map would be brown, yellow, whatever color they use for the desert, because this place will be turned into a desert, a place for desert creatures. It will be their abode forevermore. All right. Because no one will ever live here again except for desert creatures. All right. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, talking about America of the West, right? Which reigneth over the kings of the earth, which we read in the top of this chapter. See? So this is very prophetic what the Lord is rolling out here. All right. If your spiritual eyes are open, you can see it. There's a reason why Trump is saying what he's saying. There's a reason why Netanyahu said what he said, man. That's all prophecy rolling out. Let's close off on that Habakkuk to make the point, solidify. Okay. I will stand upon my watch. Let's read it in the NLT. I will climb up to my watchtower and stand at my guard post. There I will wait to see what Yahweh says and how he will answer my complaint. Yahweh's second reply. It says, then Yahweh said to me, write my answer plainly on tablets so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. And that's what we do. If we see something and we break it down prophetically, filtering what's happening through the scriptures. The vision is for a future time. These things have to lead up to a certain point. The Lord has to carry out certain things. There have to be certain steps taken before he can fulfill that prophecy, which he doesn't have to do it that way. But the Lord always gives a fair warning. So there's no excuse. You can't say, oh, the Lord was mean. He didn't tell it. We didn't do that. No, you can't say anything unrighteous about the Lord. He always gives us fair warning, and it's always through the mouths of his prophets, man. So there's no excuse for any Israelite or any of the heathens either, because they all hear. They may be the heathens, but they when the men are teaching, they hear the truth, right? Some of these heathens are actually ear hustling what the prophets are saying now. You got people that are coming up, popping up like looking like Edomites, who are saying that they they're sorry for this, they believe that, and those individuals may well be Israelites. But then there's some actual Edomites who think that by apologizing and saying this and saying that, then they adopted the ways of Israelites. They think they're going to be, no, you're not going to be saved because you're actual Edomites. Now, who's who? I'm not here to judge that. Some of these people that pop up and talk like that are actual Edomites, but some of those individuals that pop up talking like that are actual Israelites who just look like Edomites or other heathens, man. Okay? But there's no excuse for anyone on this planet. The word has gone out throughout the four corners of the earth as a witness, as the scripture has said, and then the end shall come. And that's where we're at right now. The vision is for a future time. It describes the end. See, can't make it up. And it will be fulfilled, declaring the end from the beginning, saying that my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. Isaiah 46:10. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently. You see, the Lord has to work up things. He has to lay his plan out smooth because it's already been ordained from the beginning of the earth. We just have to wait patiently for it to fully roll out. For it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. And let's end it with the KJV, just to read it there. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And Yahweh will answer me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, you see, but at the end it shall speak. And that's why these visions are speaking, because we're in the end. All right. There's no other way to explain it. These things aren't going to happen if we're not in the end, because these are signs of the time of the end. So that's why they're happening, because we're in the end. It says, but at the end, it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. All right. I always like to bring out that Peter with that in 2 Peter 3, where it says the Lord is not slack concerning his promises, as some men count slackness. All right. So we leave it at that. All right, Lord, will you edify? We'll let you get the rest of the news.
Now, Donald Trump has made his stance pretty clear. Europe must defend itself. He's now launched a fresh attack on the EU, and this comes as the European capitals are feeling ignored after Washington sidelined them and opened a direct line with their enemy number one, that's Moscow. And today's NATO security architecture faces its most serious test. If the United States scales back its commitment, the question is obviously this: how does NATO fare against Russia in a head-to-head military confrontation?
In 2022, when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it confronted the Western alliance with a threat they felt they had left behind in the past: a full-out conventional land war on the European continent. Since then, NATO has scrambled to present a united front to Kyiv. Its member states have plied Kyiv with weapons and enforced the most severe economic sanctions ever imposed on a major economy. But today, the situation seems to have changed radically.
The European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it.
The Oval Office under President Donald Trump is threading a new path, one that leads to Moscow bypassing Europe. To say Europe is in panic mode is to put it mildly. The specter of American forces leaving Europe and even removing its nuclear weapons has jolted the alliance. European countries currently rely on the US within the NATO alliance for a range of supporting capabilities and assets that allow combat forces to operate effectively. That dependency now looks increasingly precarious.
Putin's aggression does not stop in Ukraine. Russian spy ships menace our waters. Russian planes enter our airspace. Russian cyber attacks hit our NHS.
Especially after the statements from Washington last week, it is clear that we Europeans must now be able to act very quickly, that Europeans must also organize their own defense capability very quickly. This is an issue that has absolute priority in the coming weeks.
The big question is, can the combined forces of Europe take on Vladimir Putin's Russia? On paper, NATO holds the advantage. Its combined forces dwarf Russia's in sheer numbers, over 7.6 million active personnel compared to Russia's 3.5 million. The collective military capabilities of the 32 countries outnumber Russia in terms of aircraft. Again, in terms of armored vehicles, NATO has more than 5 times than Russia. In the sea, too, the Western military bloc has a definite edge, but raw numbers don't tell the whole story. Russia holds the edge in strategic positioning and doctrine. Its forces are battle-hardened after years of warfare in Ukraine. Its defense industry, under relentless sanctions, has adapted to produce cost-effective, rugged military hardware. Its missile forces, particularly hypersonic weapons like the Avangard and Kinzhal, can strike deep into NATO territory, while its vast artillery and electronic warfare capabilities outmatch anything in the continent, if American support is removed. Meanwhile, NATO's European members suffer from chronic underfunding. Many armies lack ammunition stockpiles for sustained conflict. Germany's tank force is barely operational. And the UK's army is at its smallest since Napoleonic times. The alliance is fragmented politically, with leaders unable to agree on military spending, let alone strategy. Without the US, NATO's deterrence weakens dramatically. European forces would struggle to counter a determined Russian offensive in the Baltics. The question is no longer whether NATO can win a war against Russia, it's whether, without Washington, it can even fight one. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All is not well between Egypt and Israel. Outgoing IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi has voiced concerns over the strength of the Egyptian military. Halevi has cited Egypt's advanced weaponry and sizable forces to support his concerns. In an interview to the Israeli Channel 14, Halevi said, and I quote, "We are very worried about this. Egypt has a large army that is equipped with advanced combat systems, aircraft, submarines, warships and modern tanks, along with a vast number of infantry troops." Halevi said that Egypt does not currently pose a threat. However, he's warned that the situation could change in an instant with a shift in the leadership. Halevi's comments have come in the backdrop of reports that say that Egypt is changing its military deployments in the Sinai Peninsula. Satellite images are indicating a repositioning of the Egyptian troops that have caused significant worry amongst the IDF border establishments. The report suggests that the Israeli security and military institutions have obtained testimonies indicating that Egypt is allegedly repositioning its forces in Sinai in violation of the 1979 Camp David Accords. The treaty divides Sinai into 3 zones, restricting military presence in certain areas. Now, experts say that if the reports are to be believed, then the recent modifications allow the Egyptian forces to be deployed in previously demilitarized zones. The IDF has also acknowledged recently that the smuggling of the long-range weapons into the state of Israel via drones. Israel believes that these weapons previously had made their way from Sinai to the Hamas-held part of the Gaza Strip. However, the IDF is now deployed along the Philadelphia corridor on Gaza's border with Egypt, and this, Israelis say, has resulted in the emergence of an alternate modus operandi for transporting weapons. On the Israeli side, the smugglers are waiting on high-speed ATVs and then vanish within seconds. As this is a relatively new smuggling route, Israeli authorities are still working to trace the destination of the weapons.
China is launching live-fire drills just miles from Taiwan's coast. The self-governing island is scrambling forces to take up defensive positions and calling the move a direct threat to regional security. The drills come just one day after Taiwan seized a Chinese crewed cargo ship suspected of cutting a key undersea cable. Taiwan's defense ministry says China deployed 32 military aircraft and warships just 40 nautical miles off Taiwan's southern coast in a joint combat drill. In response, Taiwan mobilized its sea, air, and land forces, preparing for escalation. Beijing insists the exercises are routine military training. Meanwhile, Taiwan warns China may be testing ways to disrupt communication as part of a potential blockade or invasion strategy. Like we said earlier, Taiwanese officials detained a Chinese crewed cargo ship suspected of severing an undersea telecom cable, one of Taiwan's critical links to the Pinggu Islands. Beijing denies involvement, dismissing Taipei's concerns as political manipulation. China started intensifying its military activity around Taiwan in recent years, pressing its sovereignty claim over the island despite never having governed the island. The U.S., Taiwan's biggest arms supplier, maintains strategic ambiguity, but questions are growing over whether President Donald Trump would intervene if China attacked Taiwan. Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te pledged to strengthen the island's defenses and increase investment in the U.S. to ease economic tensions with Washington. Meanwhile, China continues its military buildup across the Indo-Pacific, recently holding live fire drills near Australia and Vietnam. Taipei warns China's latest actions challenge international norms and fuel fears over Beijing's military ambitions, which, according to Chinese leader Xi Jinping, is to take Taiwan by force if necessary in 2027.
The nuclear clock is ticking dangerously close to midnight as Tehran has crossed a critical threshold, with enough weapons-grade material to build an arsenal that could reshape West Asia's power dynamics overnight. Tehran is on high alert amidst fears of an attack on its nuclear sites by the State of Israel and the United States. Take a look at this report.
Iran has sharply increased its stockpile of highly enriched uranium in recent weeks, according to a UN report. This comes at a time of rising tensions between Tehran and Washington. Iran is now producing enough fissile material in a month for 6 nuclear weapons. The increase in Iran's holding of uranium enriched to 60% or nearly weapons grade will be enough to produce 6 nuclear weapons. The report by the Vienna-based International Atomic Energy Agency says as of February 8th, Iran has 274.8 kilograms of uranium enriched up to 60%. That's an increase of 92.5 kilograms since the IAEA's last report in November. That material is a short technical step away from weapons-grade levels of 90%. The fuel could be converted to weapons-grade material in days. Iran has maintained its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes alone. Israel is warning a military option could be required to stop Iran from building nuclear weapons and is looking to US President Donald Trump for help in ramping up pressure on the Islamic Republic. Now, Tehran has deployed additional air defense systems around key nuclear and missile sites. Last year, Israel carried out a wave of retaliatory airstrikes on Iran after Tehran carried out a second missile attack on Israel. US intelligence assessments show that Israel is considering strikes on Iran's nuclear program and that the attacks could come as soon as mid-year. Iran is also expanding its military might. This week, the country introduced the Yak-130 advanced fighter jets into active service. Marking its combat debut in the large-scale Zulfikar 1403 military exercises. The country also showed its upgraded hovercraft fleet, equipping these amphibious vessels with long-range missiles. With its allies like Hamas and Hezbollah facing their own set of challenges, Iran appears determined to reinforce its military strength. Iran is making it clear it is determined to enhance its military power, regardless of potential confrontations, steadily building a more modern and more lethal arsenal. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.